What happens to the Commonwealth if the Institute actually wins? Not tomorrow, not next year, I mean 200 years later. Because destroying the Brotherhood of Steel and wiping out the railroad wouldn't really be the end of Fallout 4. It would be the beginning of an experiment. One organization, hidden beneath the ruins of Boston, suddenly has almost nobody left capable of challenging it. Advanced robotics, teleportation, synthetic humans, medical technology decades, maybe centuries ahead of anything on the surface. So let's assume the Institute survives. The sole survivor becomes its director. And for the next 200 years, nobody manages to destroy it. What does the Commonwealth become? At first, probably not much changes. During the first few years, Diamond City still trades. Farmers still grow moot fruit. Caravans still move between settlements. Raiders still shoot at anything carrying more than 3 bottle caps. The Institute has never shown much interest in becoming a traditional government. They don't need flags hanging from every building. They don't need soldiers standing on every street corner. They already have something far more useful: information. Synths could watch settlements, follow caravans, gather intelligence, and quietly remove anyone considered a serious threat. And after the Brotherhood is gone, who's going to stop them? For most people on the surface, the Institute might become less like an enemy army and more like something you know is always there. Watching, listening, waiting. And that's where things become interesting. Because over the next 20 or 30 years, the Institute wouldn't necessarily need to conquer Diamond City. Why conquer a city when you can influence the people running it? Imagine settlements still having mayors, councils, security forces, local leaders. Everything looks independent, but nobody really knows which decisions were made freely and which were encouraged from somewhere underground. Maybe one mayor is cooperative. Maybe another has information being fed to him. And maybe the third mayor isn't the original mayor anymore. That's the nightmare of Institute power. You don't need tanks outside the gates when nobody knows who they can trust inside them. But here's the part people sometimes forget. The Institute could also make the Commonwealth better. A lot better. Give them another 50 years without anyone destroying their laboratories, and suddenly the surface becomes an enormous testing ground for technology that could actually improve people's lives. Better crops, cleaner water, more reliable power, synthetic workers performing dangerous jobs, advanced medicine reaching settlements that currently treat gunshot wounds with dirty bandages and optimism. Roads could become safer. Infrastructure could slowly return. Maybe some of the old ruins finally get demolished instead of everyone just deciding to build a bedroom inside them. And after 70 years of Institute influence, the Commonwealth might actually be safer than it has been since the bombs fell. Which creates a much harder question. What if the Institute system works? What if giving up some freedom actually produces clean water, food, medicine, and security? Because suddenly this isn't a simple story about evil scientists hiding underground. It's a choice between freedom in a dangerous wasteland and stability controlled by people you never elected. And if you're enjoying this little experiment, subscribe, because we're going to keep pushing Fallout's factions beyond the ending slides and ask what their worlds would actually look like generations later. More importantly, stay until the end of this one, because I'm giving you 2 possible futures for the Commonwealth, and you're deciding which one becomes our ending. Now let's move forward another 50 years. This is where the Institute's biggest achievement might become its biggest problem. Synths. Generation 3 synths are already almost impossible to distinguish from ordinary humans. So what happens after another century of research? Generation 4? Generation 5? Bodies stronger than humans, immune to diseases that kill wastelanders, designed to tolerate radiation, perfect memory, faster learning, maybe even longer lifespans. At some point, the Institute has to answer an uncomfortable question. If you can build something that looks human, thinks like a human, survives better than a human, and can be produced according to your own specifications. What exactly is the purpose of ordinary humans? And don't forget the philosophy behind the Institute. Their goal isn't simply to preserve the old world. They believe science can redefine mankind. That word becomes very important after 100 years. Redefine. Because eventually, preserving humanity and replacing humanity could start looking frighteningly similar. Imagine being born in the Commonwealth 120 years after Fallout 4. You've never seen the Brotherhood. The railroad is a story your grandparents barely remember. The Institute isn't a monster hiding under your bed anymore. It's simply part of life. Synthetic workers repair infrastructure. Doctors use Institute medicine. Security systems identify threats before they enter settlements. Children grow up in cities with electricity and running water. Maybe the old fear of synths even disappears. People stop asking whether their neighbor is synthetic. Why would they care? Their doctor might be one. Their teacher might be one. Their spouse might be one. And perhaps that creates the first truly integrated human-synth society. Or perhaps it does something much darker. Because 200 years is a very long time. Long enough for the Commonwealth of Fallout 4 to become almost unrecognizable. So now we reach the year 2487, 2 centuries after the Institute victory. And I think there are two possible endings. Option A, the new Commonwealth. The Institute eventually realizes that hiding underground no longer makes sense. It opens itself to the surface. Its technology spreads. Old settlements develop into real towns. Some ruins of Boston are cleared and rebuilt. Clean energy powers communities. Food production becomes reliable. Disease becomes manageable. Synths and humans live together. Maybe the distinction between them slowly stops mattering. The Institute changes too. A new generation of scientists grows up without the paranoia that defined the organization in Fallout 4. Surface citizens gradually gain influence. Maybe councils form. Maybe the director is no longer an absolute authority. After 200 years, the Institute accomplishes something almost nobody else managed after the Great War. It creates an actual civilization. Not the old America rebuilt exactly as it was. Something new. Something born from humans and synths together. For all of the Institute's crimes, maybe history eventually remembers them as the people who dragged the Commonwealth out of the wasteland. But then there's option B, and this one is much quieter. There is no giant war, no nuclear explosion, no heroic rebellion destroying the Institute. Humanity simply becomes unnecessary. Generation after generation, synth technology improves. The Institute replaces dangerous jobs first, then technical jobs, then administration, security, medicine, leadership. Eventually, synthetic humans do almost everything better. The surface becomes clean, orderly, safe. The ruined cities are rebuilt. Radiation is contained. Raiders disappear. Super mutants become something people read about in archives. From a distance, the Commonwealth looks like the greatest success story in post-war America. But walk through Diamond City 200 years later, and almost every person you pass was manufactured. Maybe there are still biological humans, small communities, protected populations. Perhaps the Institute even treats them well. But humanity no longer controls its own future. The civilization that survived the Great War didn't die in another nuclear explosion. It was simply replaced by something designed to survive better. And that's the real irony. The Institute's motto was always about mankind's future. And maybe they really do save mankind. The question is, what would still count as mankind when they're finished? So now it's your decision. Option A. The Institute evolves. Humans and synths build a new Commonwealth together, and 200 years of scientific progress finally create something close to civilization. Or Option B. The Institute creates such perfect synthetic humans that ordinary humanity slowly becomes obsolete, leaving behind a peaceful Commonwealth populated mostly by the people the Institute built. A or B? Choose in the comments, and whichever future wins, maybe that's the version of the Commonwealth we should actually build next.